What's up guys, it's Jeff Chan from Memory Shredded, and in this video I'll be teaching you guys 7 of my best tactics to use on taller opponents. Each tactic includes my favorite techniques, combos, and counters. With all these tactics, you want to either be all the way on the outside or all the way on the inside. Never in the middle, because your taller opponent will be able to reach you and you won't be able to reach them. So tactic 1 is catch or brush those kicks to close the distance. Your taller opponent will most likely be trying to keep you back with their longer legs by throwing those lead body kicks, rear body kicks, lead teeps, or rear teeps. So as we move forward, we should always anticipate those kicks and be ready to redirect those kicks by brushing or catching them. You want to throw the leg off to the side to get past the leg and close that distance and into some body to head combinations. I like to hit the body first on a taller opponent to get them to shell up, lowering their head for me to hit. I personally like to use my lead or left arm to overcatch the right roundhouse kick to the body and counter with a body cross to liver hook and double step low kick. And as you can see, you can also catch the right roundhouse kick to the thigh and do the same counter. When it comes to the left roundhouse kick to the body, I like to use my lead or left arm to either brush or undercatch and into a big liver hook, or sometimes after the liver hook, I like to follow up with a rear body hook to left head hook. As you can see, I sometimes pull their kicking leg forward, pulling them into my punches, adding more power and also making them closer to hit. And finally, I like to counter with the liver hook and double step low kick. When it comes to the right straight kick, I like to use my lead or left arm to scoop underneath the heel and into a punch to kick combination. Tactic 2, using head movement to close the distance and strike. Since our taller opponents will have much longer arms than us, the gazelle hook is a great technique to use because we can explosively close that distance. We want to leap forward by shifting our weight to our lead leg and replacing our lead leg with our rear leg as our lead leg jumps forward and into the lead hook. But sometimes our taller opponents are good at backing away and keeping the distance. So we are going to want to time it by striking when our opponent moves forward at us when punching us. We are going to want to time it by striking when our opponent moves forward at us. We want to let those punches move past our heads, which brings us closer to our opponents. Here are some examples. We can slip to the outside on the left straight punch and into our gazelle hook to cross. Here, slipping to the outside on the cross and ripping the body. Over here, slipping to the outside on the cross and simultaneously throwing the cross. And my favorite, slipping to the inside on the jab and into the corkscrew cross. We can also move forward, and when our taller opponent tries to catch us with that check left hook, we can roll under that punch as we step forward and throw our own hook. Our opponent may not always counter with that hook, but performing the roll is still worth doing. The little roll also acts as a fake for a takedown or maybe a fake to punch the body, which is another great tactic to do against your taller opponents, but I'll be explaining that later in this video. Whether it's slipping or rolling under the punches, we want to move forward to strike as we are moving our head. Now let's make sure we exit out after we get inside to strike. In boxing, it can be a good strategy to stay in the pocket and continue working those short punches. However, in MMA or Muay Thai, your taller opponent can clinch you and can start throwing knees to our body and probably our head if they are tall enough. They have the leverage since they are taller. Their knee can probably reach your head and your knee will barely reach their body. So this isn't an ideal position for the shorter fighter. Which leads us to tactic 3, uppercuts to overhands if in the clinch. The most common advice out there when it comes to fighting taller opponents is to get into the pocket and fight there. As I just mentioned, that advice is great if the rules were strictly boxing. But in Muay Thai or MMA, your opponent can pull your head down and try to knee you. Now if we do find ourselves stuck in the clinch, I'd try to throw rear uppercuts to the head to pop that chin up to create some space, then follow it up with an overhand to hammer it back down, and then try to exit out. The overhand punch is a great weapon to use against taller opponents because of the angle of the attack. If the overhand punch is coming from a shorter opponent, the taller opponent's head is positioned higher, making the taller opponent more vulnerable to the overhand punch because it comes in at a downward angle. It's almost like a surprise attack because if you were taller, you wouldn't expect a punch coming from above. The mechanics of the overhand punch also generates probably the most power of all punches, which leads us to the 4th tactic, combining the drop shift jab with the overhand punch. By throwing the drop shift jab first, it allows us to fake out our opponent first, then suddenly closing that distance from far on the outside. Another surprise for our opponent as they would not expect us to be able to close that distance and so quickly. We're going to lift our lead knee up to fake some sort of lead leg attack, then kick it back as we extend our lead arm, acting as another fake. Then push off our rear leg and lunge forward with our lead leg, transitioning back into orthodox stance as we throw that big haymaker punch. Now, before we continue, I'd like to share with you my 80 shadowboxing technique and conditioning program. There are 80 shadowboxing workouts that are broken down into 5 categories. Number 1, boxing offensive combinations. 2, footwork and head movement. 3, offensive Muay Thai combinations. 4, Muay Thai counters and counter the counters. And finally 5, a category I call shadowboxing challenges, which are long, exaggerated, and super fun combinations that test your flow, fluidity, and rhythm in your striking, as well as your cardio, skill, and memory. Each workout includes a detailed breakdown followed by the follow-along workout in both video and audio format. You will learn my full striking system from every technique to every combo, feint, fake, setup, or counter you need to know. You can do these workouts at home, at a gym, a hotel, a park, literally anywhere, anytime. For more information, check out the link in the description box below. And the 5th tactic, punching the body before striking the head. As mentioned in tactic 2, punching the body is a great strategy to use against taller opponents. Not only is their body more open to being hit because they are taller than us, but by punching the body, it can cause our taller opponents to crunch down to block and lower their head for us to attack. I love throwing the rear body punch to the lead body punch, and because I'm so much lower, often my opponents drop their arms to clinch my head, in which I follow up with that big overhand. Is there a risk in eating a knee when you change levels for the body shots? Absolutely, there is a chance, but this is a sport where you must take risks. If you tried that on me, I'd just knee you in the face. I read those comments all the time, but that's like saying don't ever shoot for a double leg takedown because your opponent will simply just throw a knee at you. It's easier said than done. We see the best fighters use this combination, like Ilya Topuria or Alex Volkanovski. It just boils down to skill level. If you are better than your opponent, you will successfully land whatever combination you want, and if you are less skilled, there's a higher chance of getting caught trying. Here are some other body to head combinations I like. The body jab and into my cross, the liver hook into the overhand, the body cross into the lead or right hook, and if you want to go fancy, try the body cross into the rear high kick or the body jab into the lead high kick. The 6th tactic, chop the legs. This is probably the second most common advice to use against taller opponents. The legs are the most accessible target for us if we are the shorter fighter. Once you target the legs enough, you can apply the same concept as tactic 6, which is to strike low, then go to the head. For example, we can go for the inside low kick into the jab cross or overhand. Or I like to off balance my opponent with a foot sweep, potentially lowering the head to strike. And finally, the last tactic, hand trapping. It is likely your taller opponent will at some point utilize their long arms and use the long guard to keep the distance. This gives you a window of opportunity to try to pull down their lead arm, opening their face up, and also pulling them closer to you for you to throw that right hand. I hope you guys enjoyed this video on how to fight taller opponents. Comment below on what you want to see next. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on that notification button so you know when the next video is released.